Hey guys, here with another review. This one actually is going to be like one or two of them I've done so far where I kind of read my written review because I did actually write a written review for this one. I kind of go along reading it and expanding on it a little bit, or maybe not, who knows. But yeah, I just watched the 2010 remake of the Crazies and I loved it. So here goes my review. Although it's a remake, The Crazies is the best horror film I've seen in a long time, and I would say probably since no, or Let the Right One In, which is a different flavor of horror, definitely, and some people don't like it because it's I don't know, they might think it's boring. This is not boring; it's the opposite. Here's a movie that expertly fires on all cylinders. It's scary, it's suspenseful. I mean, unbearably intense, action packed, smartly scripted, beautifully shot, well choreographed, well acted. Good cast. Nothing is exactly new here, but it's done so well that it feels fresh and original. And while I wouldn't call the movie effortless, it never seems to try too hard to accomplish all the above. It goes for just the right notes to get the job done. And as a result, it feels lean and sometimes it feels a little empty, but at the same time, it can't be accused of going overboard or slipping into bad melodrama or heavy handed messages or subtext. The title, The Crazies, says it all. It's essentially a zombie movie, but instead of the enemy being living dead, your friends and neighbors, which is what always fun about zombie movies. It's people becoming murderous. Your friends and neighbors here are infected by a virus that causes them to go crazy and homicidal before eventually dying. I think the disease kills them. Uh, it's a bit like the rage infection from 28 Days Later, but not quite the same. Um, like a lot of other things in here, it just you've seen it a billion times before, but the Crazies finds a new little spin that it could put on it. It finds life into things that we've seen before. Um, like the Crazies, they tend to stare off into space, but they do very violent things and they can communicate. Like there is a scene where they do talk to each other. Um, there's a certain intelligence to what they're doing. Um, Another thing is they look different than zombies. Like when they first turn, you can't really tell anything. There's not much to distinguish them from normal people. But as the disease progresses, they do start to look like monsters a bit. But it's cool. I watched like in the extras, like they specifically went over how to make them look different from zombies, and basically like their neck muscles are all tense, and like they're basically exploding from the inside with blood pressure, like and so that's why some you see like veins in their face and like little blood sores. The story is simple horror to the core. A plane carrying a biological weapon crashes in a small town and it contaminates the drinking water. People start going crazy and killing each other, and the military comes in and quarantines the area to contain the virus. But unlike the original, which I haven't seen, but which supposedly focuses on the military and it has political overtones, the remake focuses on straight visceral horror and a small group of townspeople, centering on the sheriff. I forgot his name, but it's played by Timothy Oliphant, who is awesome in anything he does. He starts to uncover the outbreak before anyone else, and when the military arrives, he is separated from his wife, and he tries to escape so he could save her. Like, they put her in the diseased area, and he's in the safe area. Like, people are okay. And when he's leaving, there's like this great exchange between him and another quarantined prisoner, and someone that he knows from the town, maybe a friend, who tells him not to go on any fool's errands. And Oliphant replies, "Don't ask me why I can't leave without my wife, and I won't ask you why you can." That's the example right there of like the smart writing in the movie. Every aspect of the film contributes here, but the things that really stand out and make it work for me and make it memorable, more importantly, or more significantly, is it's a non-stop rush of adrenaline. It's a thrill ride, and most of the scenes are extremely inventive. Once the movie gets going, which happens pretty quickly, pretty much the first scene or two it gets going. It never lets up and doesn't give you enough time to slow down and examine it. It takes you on a ride. And I say in my review, we've all seen the pitchfork through the bed routine, which was in God, that was in Friday 13th too, right? And that was a ripoff of something else from before. But what if, let's put the spin on it. What if the victim is quarantined and they're strapped down to their bed so they can't get out? And they're watching a room full of people strapped down to a bed. They're getting killed by this crazy guy putting the pitchfork through them. They have to sit there and watch this happen, and they know they're next. That's a good example of it being inventive and breathing new life in the shit that we've seen so many times. The sequences in the car wash and the truck stop are bound to become classics. I think there is instant classics. But just overall, like the pacing and the inventiveness, they make for a very, very potent dose of horror. That if you're a fan of horror, you shouldn't miss. And I think if you're not a fan of horror, you should still check this out. If you even just like suspense or thrillers, you should check this out because it's gonna take you on a fun ride. And I conclude my review saying, yeah, there's a part of me that wishes the film had a little more meaning and weight to it. But when you think of like when I think of the heavy-handed messages that are in the recent George Romero Dead movies, there's another part of me that's very thankful that it avoids those potential pitfalls. Like, you know, and I haven't seen the original Crazies by George Romero, but I could tell you that this remake is light years better than anything he's done since Day of the Dead, especially anything he's done in the last decade. Last decade, Romero's been on a steep decline. And I think it's scarier. I truly mean this. I think it's scarier and more entertaining than any Romero movie I've seen. Like, Romero, he's done great stuff. And like Dawn of the Dead is one of my favorites. I say it, Dawn of the Dead is great. It's a classic, but it never scared me. Like this movie, actually, there are parts of it, ideas in it that scare me, and sequences in it that just were scary. And Dawn of the Dead, it never, unlike this Crazies remake, it never put me on the edge of my seat, nearly like unable to breathe throughout it, like the Crazies did. And I think it's still there is still some meaning to it. In its own lean way, the message is there. When the town deputy says "fuck you for what you did." So I give the film. I almost went all the way with it, but I give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Just a little bit holding it back from being perfect, but I still think it'll be a remembered movie years from now. And it's not just the best horror movie I've seen all year. It's one of the best movies I've seen all year, hands down. I really think even if you're not a fan of horror, you deserve to give the Crazies a chance. So I'll cut it short, some sort of short there at 9.5 minutes, but definitely check this movie out. I loved it. I might actually buy it on Blu-ray, even though the Blu-ray is kind of slim on extras. Like I'm not even sure if it has a commentary. I'll have to go back and take a look. But a great movie nonetheless. Worth buying, worth watching, worth renting. Whatever you have to do, see the movie.